If you overthink everything, psychology says there's something rare about the way your mind works. Not broken, not weak, not unstable, rare, because most people don't think deeply enough to overthink at all. They skim life on the surface. You don't. You replay conversations long after they end. You analyze decisions from every angle. You imagine outcomes that haven't happened yet, both good and bad. And somewhere along the way, you were probably told that this means something is wrong with you, that you worry too much, that you think too much, that you should just relax or stop overthinking. But psychology tells a very different story. Overthinking isn't random, it's structured. It follows patterns, and in many cases, it's linked to a set of personality traits that only a small percentage of people have. Traits that come with costs, yes, but also with depth, intelligence, and foresight most people never develop. Think about this. While others move quickly, you pause. While others act on impulse, you simulate consequences. While others are comfortable with uncertainty, your mind refuses to leave loose ends unresolved. You don't just want an answer, you want the right one. That difference alone changes how you experience the world. Your brain doesn't operate on autopilot, it operates on awareness. And before we go deeper, let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever felt like your mind keeps working even when your body is exhausted? Like your thoughts don't shut off just because the day is over? If yes, this isn't a coincidence, it's a clue. If this already feels uncomfortably accurate, let me know in the comments. Just knowing others think this way too can be grounding. And if you want psychology that explains how your mind works, instead of telling you to fix it, you're welcome to subscribe. Now, let's talk about the first rare trait behind overthinking. People who overthink often have brains wired for anticipation rather than reaction. Your mind isn't just worrying, it's forecasting. Psychology links this to threat anticipation and future-oriented cognition. In simple terms, your brain is constantly asking, what's coming next? This trait developed as a survival advantage. In early human history, the people who imagined worst-case scenarios weren't pessimists. They were the ones who survived. They noticed danger early. They prepared for scarcity. They planned ahead while others lived moment to moment. That wiring didn't disappear. It evolved. So, when you imagine future problems, your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's doing what it was designed to do: protect you. While others walk blindly into situations, you've already rehearsed them mentally. You've thought about consequences. You've prepared for outcomes they haven't considered. You don't overthink because you're scared. You overthink because your instinct is to be ready. This is why overthinkers are often the ones people rely on in crises. You stay mentally ahead. You anticipate needs. You notice risks before they become obvious. Even when it feels exhausting, this mental habit is rooted in intelligence and foresight. But this trait alone doesn't explain why you replay a conversation from years ago, or why a single awkward moment can loop in your mind for hours. That brings us to the second trait, one that has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with care. People who overthink are often deeply concerned with emotional impact. You don't just ask, what did I say? You ask, how did it land? You replay interactions not to punish yourself, but to understand whether you hurt someone, disappointed them, or were misunderstood. Psychology connects this to heightened emotional responsibility. You carry the emotional weight of interactions longer than most people. While others move on quickly, your mind stays behind, reviewing, recalibrating, and trying to make sense of the emotional ripple effect. This is why overthinkers are rarely careless with words. You choose them carefully. You measure tone. You consider context. You don't want to cause harm even accidentally. That's not insecurity. That's empathy with depth. And as we move forward, you'll start to see something important. Every part of overthinking that feels like a burden is tied to a strength most people don't have. But those strengths come with a cost, especially when your mind processes more than the world around you expects. And that's where the next trait comes in. People who overthink don't just think more, they process deeper. This is the third rare personality trait psychology consistently finds in overthinkers: a depth of processing brain. You don't skim reality, you absorb it. Your mind notices details, others filter out automatically. A slight change in someone's tone, a pause before a reply, the energy shift in a room that no one else seems aware of. While others experience life in broad strokes, you experience it in layers. Psychology links this to heightened cognitive and sensory processing. Your brain takes in more information per moment than average, and instead of discarding it, it analyzes it. That's why you often feel mentally tired, even after doing nothing. You weren't doing nothing. You were processing thousands of signals the world never asked you to notice. This is also why overthinkers are often misunderstood as lazy, slow, or unmotivated. From the outside, it looks like you're inactive. On the inside, your mind has been running non-stop. You don't just live through experiences, you dissect them, you reflect on them, you try to understand what they mean. And while this depth gives you insight, it also makes rest difficult. Your brain doesn't shut down easily because it doesn't believe the work is finished. There's always another layer to understand, another angle to examine. This leads directly into the fourth rare trait, one that most people never connect to overthinking: a powerful imagination. Overthinking is imagination without direction. Your mind is exceptionally good at creating scenarios, connections, and possibilities. Psychology has found strong links between high imagination, creativity, and anxiety, not because creativity causes anxiety, but because unused creative energy turns inward. The same mental ability that allows artists to create, strategists to plan, and innovators to build is the ability your mind uses to imagine worst-case scenarios. When that energy has no meaningful outlet, it starts generating problems instead of solutions. You visualize conversations before they happen. You imagine outcomes before decisions are made. You mentally rehearse situations again and again. This isn't madness. It's a mind begging for something complex to work on. Many overthinkers calm down dramatically when they're given a real challenge, something meaningful that absorbs their imagination fully. When your mind has a target, it stops turning on itself. You weren't built for boredom. You were built for complexity. And this is the point where I want to pause for a second, because if you're still listening, it means this video is probably describing you with uncomfortable accuracy. If you relate to this way of thinking, this channel is for people like you, people who feel too deep for surface-level explanations. If you want more psychology that actually explains your mind, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next video. Now, let's talk about the fifth rare trait, the one that explains why overthinking feels so exhausting and yet so hard to stop. People who overthink often have unusually high internal standards. You don't want average outcomes. You don't want rushed decisions. You don't want things that feel good enough, but wrong on the inside. Your mind keeps revisiting choices because you're trying to close the gap between reality and your ideal. Psychology refers to this as conscientious depth. It's the drive to do things properly, ethically, and meaningfully. While others are comfortable settling, your mind keeps asking, is this really the best option? This trait is stressful, but it's also why overthinkers produce high-quality work, make thoughtful decisions, and often outperform others in the long run. You don't rush because you care. You analyze because alignment matters to you. You don't want shortcuts. You want truth. You want integrity between your actions and your values. That's why your mind doesn't let go easily. But here's the part most people miss. When these traits aren't understood, overthinking feels like a curse. When they are understood, it becomes a map. And in the next part, we're going to reframe everything so you can finally see what your overthinking has been trying to do for you this whole time. At this point, it's important to understand something crucial. Overthinking doesn't exist on its own. It's not a flaw floating in isolation. It's the side effect of a mind that sees more, feels more, and expects more from itself and from the world. Most people don't question their thoughts. You question everything. Most people accept simple explanations. You look for underlying causes. Most people are comfortable with ambiguity. You want clarity, and that difference changes how you experience life. Your mind doesn't just react to events, it evaluates them. It checks for consistency. It asks whether things align with your values, your understanding, and your sense of truth. This is why unresolved situations bother you so deeply. Loose ends feel physically uncomfortable in your body, not just mentally annoying. Psychology refers to this as cognitive closure sensitivity. Your brain wants coherence. It wants things to make sense. When they don't, your mind keeps returning to the same thought, not to torture you, but to resolve the inconsistency. This is why unanswered messages linger in your mind, why unclear relationships exhaust you, why decisions without enough information feel unbearable. Your brain doesn't tolerate randomness easily, not because you're rigid, but because you're meaning-oriented. You're constantly trying to integrate experiences into a larger understanding of how things work. And here's something most people never realize about overthinkers. You are often more self-aware than the people around you. You reflect on your motives. You question your reactions. You try to understand your own blind spots. That self-reflection is rare. It also explains why you're harder on yourself than others are. When something goes wrong, you don't just blame the situation, you analyze your role in it. You replay what you could have done differently. You ask whether you acted fairly, kindly, or wisely. This doesn't mean you enjoy self-criticism. It means you hold yourself to a standard most people never even consider. And while this can turn into self-doubt when unchecked, it's also the foundation of growth, ethics, and emotional intelligence. People who never overthink rarely grow deeply. They repeat the same patterns without noticing them. You, on the other hand, notice everything. But there's a paradox here, and it's one that causes a lot of suffering if it's misunderstood. The same mind that gives you insight also gives you anxiety. The same depth that makes you compassionate also makes you vulnerable. The same awareness that makes you thoughtful also makes you tired. This is why telling an overthinker to stop thinking never works. Thinking isn't a habit for you, it's an identity function. Your mind is designed to explore, connect, and evaluate. When that function is suppressed, the energy doesn't disappear, it turns inward. This is also why distraction rarely works long term. You can keep busy, but the moment things slow down, your thoughts come rushing back. Not because you're broken, but because your mind is trying to do what it does best. Understand this clearly. You are not overthinking because something is wrong with you. You are overthinking because your mind is active, complex, and engaged with reality. The problem isn't that you think too much. The problem is that no one ever taught you how to work with a mind like yours. And when a complex system isn't understood, it feels like chaos. But when it is understood, it becomes a powerful tool. In the final part, we're going to put everything together. We're going to reframe overthinking completely, not as something to eliminate, but as something to understand, respect, and direct. Because once you see the full picture, you'll stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" And you'll start asking a much better question. What is my mind actually capable of? By now, you can probably see it clearly. Overthinking was never the enemy. It only felt that way because no one ever explained what it actually was. You were given labels instead of understanding. You were told to quiet your mind instead of learning how to work with it. And over time, that made you doubt something that was never meant to be doubted: your mind. So let's put everything together. You anticipate because your brain is future-oriented. You replay moments because you care about emotional impact. You feel exhausted because you process life deeply. You imagine endlessly because your creativity has no off switch. You hesitate because your standards are higher than average. None of this points to weakness. It points to a mind that refuses to live on autopilot. Overthinkers don't move through the world casually. You move through it consciously. You don't accept surface answers. You don't ignore emotional consequences. You don't rush decisions just to escape discomfort. You stay with complexity until it makes sense. And yes, that can be heavy, but it also means you understand people more deeply. You see situations more clearly. You catch patterns others miss. You grow faster because you reflect instead of repeat. You evolve because you question instead of assume. The world often rewards speed, confidence, and simplicity, but it quietly relies on people like you, the ones who slow things down enough to notice what actually matters. The planners, the thinkers, the ones who consider consequences before action, the ones who carry responsibility seriously, even when no one asks them to. You were never meant to think less. You were meant to think with direction. When overthinkers learn this, something shifts. The same mind that once felt overwhelming starts to feel powerful. The same awareness that once created anxiety starts creating clarity. The same depth that once felt isolating starts to feel like a quiet form of strength. You stop fighting your thoughts. You start listening to them. And when you stop treating your mind like a problem, you realize it's actually a resource, a sophisticated one. So the next time your thoughts start spiraling, remember this: your mind isn't attacking you. It's asking for meaning, for direction, for something worthy of its attention. You don't need to become less sensitive. You don't need to become less thoughtful. You don't need to become more like everyone else. You just need to stop believing that depth is a flaw. Because in a world full of impulsive reactions, shallow certainty, and careless decisions, people who think deeply are rare and necessary. You were never broken. You were built differently. And finally, let me ask you something gently. Which part of this described you the most? The anticipation, the empathy, the exhaustion, the imagination, or the high standards? Share it in the comments, not because you owe anyone an explanation, but because finding people who think like you reminds you that you're not alone. And if you want more psychology that helps you understand your mind instead of silencing it, you're welcome to subscribe. This channel exists for people who feel too deep, think too much, and were never meant to live on the surface. You don't overthink because you're weak. You overthink because your mind is powerful, and now you finally know why. Before you leave, pause with me for a moment. If this video touched something you usually keep hidden, that matters. You didn't imagine this. You didn't make it up. You've been carrying depth, awareness, and responsibility in silence for a long time. You think deeply because your heart pays attention. You replay moments because you care about impact, not perfection. And you feel tired because your mind never takes shortcuts. If this felt like someone finally understood you, leave a comment. You don't have to explain everything. Just being seen is enough. And if you want more psychology that feels human, not judgmental, consider subscribing and turning on the bell. This space exists for people like you. You're not broken.